What's going on, Master Duel fans? James here again. Dice Rally deck profile for you guys. Two of them to be precise, because one is my actual choice, and then the second deck of choice is for whatever the reason the half-life points comes up. So, first things first. Starting off with the deck profile for the actual deck of choice that I took to Dice Rally. Vampire Zombies. Because let's be real about this, it's October, we need something brand new to spook up for the season. So, Vampire Zombie profile for you guys. 3 Vampire Ghost. This is the vampire starter you want to see the most. Upon normal summon, you can send one other vampire card, spell/trap included, from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard as cost. The resolution is add 1 level 4 or higher vampire from deck to hand, and if you do, send 1 level 2 or lower vampire monster from your deck to the graveyard. During the main phase, as a quick effect, you can banish this from grave and pay 500 life. Once this effect resolves, normal summon 1 vampire monster, each effect once per turn. And the ideal cards you want to send off from Ghost in terms of 99.99% of the time would be Familiar, Retainer, and we'll get to one of the higher level ones later on. But mostly Familiar and or Retainer. So they both have the similar effects where if they're in the graveyard, you can send 1 vampire card, spell/trap included, to reborn themselves, and then once they are special summoned, you can pay 500 life. So that Familiar lets you add 1 vampire monster from deck to hand that's not himself, and then Retainer is your vampire spell trap searcher. So both are basically Stratos. And I opted to run 2 of each, not 3, because you literally do not want to overdraw the card in terms of open hands. Vampire Sorcerer. The idea with Sorcerer is because of his graveyard effect. You can banish this from your graveyard. 1 dark vampire monster that you end up normal summon can be used without tributing. Basically, this is meant for something like Scourge or even Shadow Vampire, which we'll get into, especially in combination with Vampire Ghost. You could just legitimately have no worries to duck and dodge from hand traps that target like Veiler or Imperm with ease. And again, it's like one of those make a choice moments. And if for some reason this card in my possession is sent to the graveyard because of an opponent's card, Sorcerer lets you add 1 dark vampire or vampire spell trap from deck to hand. So he's the OG Stratos of vampire archetypes. Now, for the higher level vampires. 3 Fraulein cards, amazing, because nobody in their right mind has paid attention to Fraulein's battle phase tricks. When a monster declares an attack, you can special summon this in defense, so free extension, and then once per battle, if your zombie battles, you can spill so much blood, pay multiples of 100, max of 3,000, your battling monster gains that much stats during that damage calc only. And then Shadow Vampire, Vampire Grace. This is the other card you normally send with the help of Vampire Ghost effect, Scarlet Scourge, and Voidbode. Shadow Vampire can't be used as material for XZ summon except Dark XZ, basically Crimson Bram any extra. Upon normal summon, this is your E-Telly of Dark Vampire that isn't Shadow Vampire, but all monsters you control cannot attack except that monster that just got E-Tellied. Scarlet Scourge. Upon no more special, you can pay 1,000, target 1 vampire monster in your graveyard that isn't himself, special it, but it cannot attack this turn. And by it, meaning the vampire that just reborn. So that way you don't have to worry about Grace's own effect instead of her Scourge and all that. But realistically, Grace is one of those, has her own ability that states when a level 5 or higher zombie is special because of a zombie's effect while she's in a grave, you can pay 2,000 life, as in you're spilling way too much blood, special summon this. The end of battle phase tricks for Scarlet Scourge, he comes up literally every game, and then for all lines, end of battle phase tricks specifically, she actually came up twice because in one game is where, let alone people had no clue on how to deal with Fedora line throughout most of the battles. There was one guy who literally had all 3 monsters attacked into her, and then they had to reread the card saying once per battle. And once they realized about what just happened to Fraulein by basically getting punished by wasting their monsters, Fraulein took all 3 monsters at the same time and proceed to combo off throughout the follow-up, which is huge. And then Grace, on the other hand, the declare 1 card type so that the opponent can foolish, that literally never happens. But at the same time, it's where, like, if you're in a situation is where your opponent is in a deck out state, you can just have Grace do the work in terms of tossing out the leftover cards. But otherwise, do not do this declare 1 card type effect because you never know what deck your opponent is playing, and you never know what kinds of graveyard effects they have to benefit them. Vampire Void Void. The secret effect of the normal summon, that only happens once post the Dice Rally title, which is upon normal summon, you can target up to 2 monsters in your opponent's graveyard, special them to your field in defense, but effects negated. When a monster's effect is activated, while a monster's, more than one, with its same name is in a graveyard, as in anyone's, as a quick effect, you can negate the activation as in never happened. If a monster's, more than one, is special summoned from your opponent's graveyard, you contribute 2 monsters to summon this guy from your graveyard. Basically, the idea is if you don't have ways to turbo out Void Void for the sake of negates, Ghost is the card to start it all from the get-go, which is, again, amazing. Vampire Spells and Traps. Desire, just 1 because hard once. Domain, play 1 because it's searchable. Awakening and not Retribution. I can't thought. I'm thinking of Evil Eye Retribution. Vampire Domination. There we go. But otherwise, all the Vampire Spell Traps are 1-ups because they are searchable, courtesy of Vampire Retainer. Vampire's Desire. This is your target 1 face-up monster you control, Foolish a Vampire to level modulate, or you target 1 vampire monster in your graveyard, you send 1 monster you control to reborn it. Vampire's Domain. This is your double summon of a vampire by paying 500 life. And then each time your vampire does battle damage, gain the same amount of life. Vampire Awakening is your E-Telly of vampires, and if it doesn't do anything with it, it gets killed. Basically, use this on either turn, and you're basically going to spook your opponent. If you happen to use this specifically on your own turn, that's even more bonus buff. So that way, you can push yourself forward in terms of keep the combo lines going. But otherwise, if you're using this defensively for Awakening, you can just go either A, Awakening into Familiar, so that way you can search your Thrall line, or B, assuming that if you already got Thrall line in your hand, you could just straight up go Scourge, Reborn, Void Void to get the negates going. And it makes it so that you are able to keep your negates in check, dealing with your opponent's board state. And then domination is your omni negate if you happen to control a vampire. And if you happen to kill a monster card off from this, gain life points equal to its original attack. For the zombies, Shiranui Solitaire, just one because hard wants a turn. And it makes it so that your 2-unit zombie can help you get your synchro or link climb going, or even more extension with your main deck zombie plays. 3 Mizuki, let's not dwell on that card too much because we all know how broken this card is. Zombie Master, let's also not dwell on that too much because if Zombie Master were able to regenerate more than 2 zombies at least in the same turn, you just basically won the game on the spot, especially between Zombie Master and Mizuki's. This makes it so that you're potentially keep on constantly spamming infinite loops like no tomorrow. Gozuki, Foolish is a zombie, so that way you can toss out the Mizuki's or even Necroworld Banshees, which we'll get into. And then Samurai Skull, same thing in terms of foolishing a zombie. And if for some reason for Gozuki, if it gets sent to the graveyard, you can banish 1 zombie from your graveyard that isn't Gozuki, special 1 zombie from your hand. Especially in the early games is where if you already have at least 1 or 2 extra zombies with the likes of Zombie Master in terms of lower level ones, you can actually reborn the Retainer Familiar to get your searches going and just zombie combo spam. 2 Necroworld Banshee for the sake of the 2 zombie worlds. Let's not dwell on that too much. And then the protection of Zombie World off from Necroworld Banshee, that comes up at least once or twice, and it's huge. Also, the secondary side effect of Zombie World is so not fair because for whatever the reason, they did not ban it for the sake of the Dice Rally event, especially the fact that most decks in general that are not actual zombies are having serious trouble because everybody becomes zombies and no one tribute summons except zombies. So most cases, unless if for whatever the reason, like you're playing Monarchs, if I recall, Erebus Monarch is indeed a zombie, so that bypasses Zombie World, which is amazing. So going for the record about Erebus Monarch. He is indeed a zombie. That's crazy. But otherwise, Non-Engine, Feather Duster, Foolish Burial, Tactics Talent, and then Hand Traps, 2 Imperm, 2 Ash, 1 Ghost Spell. The monster hand traps, to be specific over any other hand trap outside of Imperm, is that these ghost girls are zombies, and it makes it so that if you don't have ways to keep on synchro climb, you can just have Mizuki banish, reborn the ghost girls, so that way you can synchro climb into even more higher level synchros like no tomorrow, which is again huge. As for the extra deck, Crimson Eye Vampire Bram, Dampia Vampire Sheridan, Zombie Vampire, 2 Vampire Sucker because it's actual vampires, and 1 Fascinator. Crimson Eye Bram, detach a material, target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, special it to your side of the field. However, only that special summon monster can attack. So essentially, Bram Stoker is your Charmer of sorts. And then, if for some reason your opponent outs Crimson Eye Bram in terms of hitting the graveyard because of an opponent's card and it was destroyed, Bram just keep on constantly coming back as a special summon monster in defense. Hence why he's basically the undead knight. The blue blood of Dampier Sheridan and Zombie Vampire. If you were to use your opponent's monsters as Exene material, Sheridan can make them 6s, while Zombie Vampire can make them 8s. Sheridan has the ability to detach to target one card your opponent controls, send, not destroy, but send it to the graveyard. Huge. And then, if for whatever the reason, a monster card is sent from the field to your opponent's graveyard or gets killed by battle and ends up in the graveyard, detach one to Charmer Link that destroyed monster to your field. Zombie Vampire, the dictator of the fallen one. No one can target Zombie Vampire within the effects of special summon monsters except those that were summoned from the graveyard. Basically, in terms of monster effects on a field, any monster that's not reborn cannot target Zombie Vampire. To circumvent this, hand, grave, or banish effects, as well as if there are cards and or effects that can copy that involves the word target in it, that can actually bypass it, courtesy of Chasma Ruler, because there was a match where Chasma, the Light Dragon XZ, detached Sandblaster to copy the destruction effect. I literally just learned that it's not targeting, which is amazing. But otherwise, Zombie Vampires, detach one effect, let's not dwell on that too much. Especially the fact that Horus Engine is being used the most. I'm like, nah, screw the Horus. It's all about actual vampires. 2 Vampire Sucker, it's actual vampires. If you would tribute a monsters, more than one, for a tribute summon, you can tribute a zombie monsters, more than one, your opponent controls, even though you do not control them. The idea is get your high level vampires out and you're able to out the most oppressive boards, especially the fact that if they have zombies on board, thanks to Zombie World, of course, that deals with can't be targeted or killed by any means, Vampire Sucker can outright fix that. And then you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, especially to your opponent's field in defense, but it becomes a zombie. If you were to use this in terms of mid to late game setup, it makes it so that cards such as Imperm or Molcharmy is no use throughout the grind game. And then the draw one all from Sucker, mandatory, cool, because plus ones, you gotta love it. And then Fascinator, favorite, vampire. Upon Link summon, well, first chance, she's Link Shoken. She's essentially a Charmer Link in terms of reborn a monster. However, once you do that, you're locked into zombies. I mean, the whole entire deck is zombies. We literally do not care about the restriction, especially with Zombie World. Restrictions do not matter at the slightest. And then you can tribute one vampire monster, self included. Then target one monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase. So this helps you put your opponents on pressure. For the synchros, Immortal Dragon, foolish as any zombie in terms of level modulation. And then if for some reason your zombie monster gets killed by battle while it's in the graveyard, free summon, but banish it whenever it leaves. Red Eye Zombie Necro Dragon gains 100 stats for each zombie on the field and in the graveyards. So if you have Zombie World on board with this, even more massive buffs. When another zombie monster gets killed by battle, courtesy of Zombie World, you can special summon one zombie monster from either grave to your field, regardless of level and or as well as those that are summoned properly. Card is beyond insane. Shiranui Shogun Saga, cards amazing. This helps you perform OTKs. Skeletal Dragon Felgrand. For whatever the reason, when this card was first made, this card is an actual zombie and not a dragon. That's completely stupid, but in a good way, because it being a zombie means you literally do not care about the restrictions. Because A, spot removal upon special summon, and B, because you're playing a deck that involves mostly special summon from the graveyards, so in most cases, if a monster is special from either graveyard, and it doesn't matter whose, outside of the damage step, this enables you to target one other face-up monster anywhere on the field, negate its effects. Sun Saga, this card is super oppressive in terms of breaking boards because, especially with Mizuki, you can reborn this guy, not in the same turn though, and it makes it so that when I say breaking the most oppressive boards, Sun Saga has the ability to return the synchros, any number from grave or banish, to does not target kill that many, which is amazing. And if for whatever the reason, a zombie monsters of any kind will be killed, you can banish one Shiranui from your graveyard instead, basically this guy, as the saving grace. And then hard once on the special summons between Sun Saga and Shogun Saga as well, hence why I only play the one. Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord, he's basically Vera, Vernisil Goddess of zombies in terms of reborn, and then if for whatever the reason this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one zombie you control, free summon this guy. Ghost Trick Alucard. Sadly, card literally never comes up at all. In theory is where if you have 2 level 3s, and if I spot any set cards, Alucard can come in. And by any chance, I just want to be curiosity about this one particular monster. Wallow could have been a nice addition for the sake of replacing Alucard, because to be fair, I honestly didn't think of Wallow as a card itself, and I really did not know about how oppressive Wallow really is. So the very next list in terms of vampire zombies, if I were to work with this, since Alucard did not come up at all, Wallow is going to get seriously swapped from the get-go, and it makes it so that you are able to gain massive buff out of Wallow, which is amazing. And then because I didn't play the card, if I was going to switch out Alucard for Wallow, which of course I should have been done this in the first place, Wallow would have had the ability to quick effect to target one card in your opponent's graveyard to detach 1 or 2, and it makes it so that it's either A, put it back to the deck, or B, if it's a monster, summon it, otherwise, set it. So Wallow is going to get replaced out of Alucard, because I did not know about Wallow being an actual zombie, which is amazing. And then Flying Mary is insane because it being able to reborn literally any level 5 or higher zombie in terms of the main deck guys, which of course from Shadow, Fraulein, Grace, Scourge, and Voidvode. The synchros as well, assuming that if they were summoned properly, which is, again, lit. While this card is a continuous spell, you can target 1 level 5 or higher zombie you control. The resolution is, does not target kill a monster your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to that. Yukiona, the Absolute Zero Mayakashi. This card is a demon versus dragon rulers, because negate any activated effects of your opponent's banished monsters. Dragon rulers, sad to say it, but especially with Zombie World, it's completely overkill. And then it doesn't matter who special summon the monsters out of the graveyard or a monster effect triggers in the graveyard outside of the damage step, not once, but twice per turn, you can target one other face-up monster anywhere on the field, change its attack to 0, and if you do, negate its effects. And again, if there's any changes to this deck, Alucard for Wallow, because Alucard was never made. So now I know what to do next time. And then for the half life point deck challenge, White Forest Allure Queen with some spice. You guys know what's up about White Forest Allure Queen. Let's not dwell on the profile too much. 3 Sylvie, 2 Rusia, 2 LZ, the OG, 1 LZ Azamina, Susurus, Woes, and Apes. No tails because late game, if I do not control a illusion or spellcaster, card does nothing for me. And no Stellar because during testing, she is a really big magnet to hand traps. Allure Queens, 3 level 3, 1 level 5, 1 level 7, 3 Chaos Allure Queens, 3 Dance, 2 Palace. Pretty straightforward. Also, 2 Palace straight up solves. For everybody else, the reason why you play 2 is because if for whatever the reason, the first copy gets killed off from Ghost Ogre, you always get yourself a second one to back yourself up. For the spicy tech options, Wizard Buster, courtesy of the equipped queens, summonable all from Allure Palace, which is amazing. And it makes it so that if you have Chaos Queen hook up to Wizard Buster, it's essentially Abyss Dweller of monsters. And for whatever the reason, they did not ban this card in the event, which is so not fair, and yet I totally love it. The 2 Magician Souls, Illusion of Chaos, and Chaos Space. The idea about the spicy Chaos Space is to send a light or dark, and because Illusion is a dark, you basically send a light of any kind to search for Illusion of Chaos, and in Illusion of Chaos, search Magician Souls if you never got your hands on Magician Souls by any means necessary. And then, the reason why I went with 1 Chaos Space specifically is because last line of text, each effect hard once per turn, so I played the 1. And then, non-engine, I guess, Harpy's Feather Duster, Talents, 2 Chalice, Blizzard, and then the rest is hand traps, 3 Imperm, 2 Ash, 1 Bell. Extra that consists of Silvera, Ursula, Diabelle, and then the Tuner Synchro to summon, aside from the sisters of the White Forest Synchros, Zapper Shrimp for the Spell Trap spot removal, Chaos Angel, that's for your Chaos Allure Queen lines, Downer Magician, Drill Driver Vespinato. I was legitimately sick and tired of seeing Marshmallon, the Shining Sark version of Marshmallon. And it makes it so that if I was legitimately forced to attack that monster instead of anything else, I figure why not add in these cards for the sake of pure spatter damage. And thus, no Celine in my extra deck because, again, we got ways to reborn and to recur a lot. So, IP, Lina Dark, 2 Golden Queen, Boral Sword, Steals Games, Magna Crusadia Avermax, and Underworld Goddess. This has been James Polk with the 2 separate deck profiles in one video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification bell so you can keep on constantly updated. And let me know what decks you played throughout the Dice Rally in the comments below. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time.